When a young boy stepped into a flower shop to buy a bouquet of roses, his unsteady hands carefully counted his coins, only to realize he didn't have enough. Feeling defeated, he was about to leave empty-handed when Elon Musk, who happened to be there, stepped in. What happened next revealed a heartwarming secret no one could have predicted. But before we dive into the rest of this story, let us know where you're tuning in from. And if you love stories like this, hit that subscribe button because we've got another special one lined up for you. The flower shop was an enchanting place, almost magical, a little escape from the chaos of the bustling city. Nestled on the corner of a busy street, it seemed to call out to passers-by, inviting them to pause and step inside. Its wide windows displayed a burst of vibrant colors: deep reds, bright yellows, delicate lilacs, and the sweet fragrance of flowers drifted through the air, filling the shop with a warm and inviting scent. Inside, everything was arranged with care. Rustic wooden shelves held flawless bouquets wrapped in colorful tissue paper. Decorative pots sat neatly on pedestals, while soft instrumental music played in the background, enhancing the shop's peaceful atmosphere. Yet, despite the harmony surrounding him, the boy who had just entered seemed out of place. He stood near the entrance, frozen, his shoulders hunched, his face clouded with uncertainty. He wore a faded green t-shirt and dark pants that showed signs of wear. His sneakers were scuffed, and he clutched an old backpack that had clearly seen better days. His large, dark eyes scanned the room cautiously, as if searching for something in particular. Slowly, he stepped forward and ran his fingers over a bouquet of sunflowers. Sunlight streamed through the display window, making the yellow petals glow, but the boy seemed lost in thought. After a moment, he looked away and moved on, stopping in front of another arrangement. He hesitated, studying the flowers intently, but not daring to touch them. Then, he saw it. The bouquet. It sat at the center of the main shelf, surrounded by smaller arrangements. A bouquet of red roses, wrapped in golden paper, with a satin ribbon tied in a flawless bow. The flowers were perfect, as though freshly picked. There was something about them that captivated the boy completely. He stood there, staring, as if fighting an internal battle. Finally, he reached out and picked it up, his fingers trembling slightly. It was as if the bouquet carried a weight far heavier than just its physical presence. Turning it in his hands, he studied the packaging's details, but his eyes inevitably landed on the small price tag. His expression darkened. He didn't need to count to know he didn't have enough. Even so, he took a deep breath, pressed the bouquet gently to his chest, and walked toward the counter. Each step felt slower than the last, as though part of him was urging him to turn back. When he reached the register, he placed the bouquet down carefully, as if handling something fragile and precious. The clerk, a woman with a kind expression, offered him a warm smile. "That's one of our most beautiful bouquets," she said, trying to fill the silence. The boy didn't respond. Instead, he unzipped his backpack and pulled out a handful of coins, placing them on the counter. Slowly, he sorted them into small piles, his hands trembling more with each coin, his breathing becoming heavier. The only sound in the shop was the faint clinking of metal against wood. When he finished, he looked at the total, then back at the bouquet, and it became painfully clear. He had come up short. The clerk's smile faded slightly as she glanced at the coins. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "this isn't enough for that bouquet." The boy blinked rapidly, as though trying to fight back tears. His eyes flickered between the coins and the roses. He pressed his lips together, looking like he wanted to speak but couldn't find the words. Finally, in a barely audible whisper, he muttered, I need these flowers. His voice cracked, and his eyes welled with tears. His fingers clenched the straps of his backpack as if that could steady him. It was clear. These flowers meant something far beyond what the clerk could guess. Then, breaking the heavy silence, a calm, steady voice spoke up from behind him. Maybe I can help. Startled, the boy turned to see a man standing near the shop's entrance. His hands were tucked casually into the pockets of his coat, and a serene smile rested on his face. His slightly tousled hair gave him an effortless, relaxed air, yet he seemed to understand everything that had just unfolded. The clerk looked at the man in surprise, while the boy, wide-eyed and uncertain, stood frozen. In that moment, time seemed to hold its breath. What happened next would change the course of this story forever. Elon Musk watched as the boy clutched the bouquet with both hands, as if the entire world depended on it. His shoulders hunched, and his gaze remained fixed on the floor, as if he wished to disappear. "That's a beautiful bouquet," Elon said softly, his voice light, almost conversational. "You've got good taste." The boy hesitated but said nothing. His fingers tightened around the stems of the bouquet. "Are they for a special occasion?" Elon asked, his tone warm with curiosity. The boy opened his mouth as if to answer, but then hesitated, swallowing his words. His eyes darted away, focusing on something distant. Elon didn't push. Instead, he leaned slightly to the side, his posture relaxed, as though trying to ease the tension. "You know," he said with a reassuring smile, "once I picked out flowers for someone and stood at the checkout for ages, wondering if they were the right ones. It was kind of awkward." The boy looked up at him, confused yet curious. "And were they the right ones?" he asked quietly. Elon's smile deepened. "That day, absolutely. They made someone smile, and I think that's what really matters. Don't you?" The boy looked down at the bouquet in his hands. He still seemed wary, but the tension in his shoulders eased slightly. I really need them," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking more to himself than to Elon. "Sometimes we do," Elon replied gently. "And it's good when someone understands that." The boy hugged the bouquet closer to his chest and took a step back. "Thank you," he mumbled, before quickly turning toward the door. Elon watched him leave, gripping the flowers as if his life depended on them. Something about the boy, his desperation, his urgency, lingered in Elon's mind. Something wasn't right,